Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently started reading the prequel trilogy to The Mortal Instruments, and this one's actually called The Infernal Devices, and it's more of a steampunk sort of series, and I really like steampunk. I've been a fan of steampunk for, I don't know, for quite some time. And this has a very interesting twist in it, which I'm not going to go into, but I really, really like the way that Cassandra Clare writes, and I love Tessa, the main character, and we learn about Church's roots and Magnus and why Magnus feels the way he does, and the Enclave versus the Conclave. The Enclave is the English version of the Conclave in New York. This whole idea of automatons, I think, is really fascinating. I don't know what it is about mechanical devices, or the whole implementation of that in the plot is, to me, it's fascinating, and I've always been intrigued by that ever since I was young. It's just the whole idea that things that are clockwork are also alien to us, and it even states in here that Da Vinci himself thought of the body as a mechanical construct, and we really haven't overcome this idea, but it's interesting. It's ironic because in the Victorian age, the mind and the body were considered comprised of the same elements, and they were united. They were not separate like a lot of people feel they are today. They really aren't. They're the same thing. Everything in the body is interconnected. There are systems that are working as a unit, and a lot of people realize this through things such as superstring theory, that every little incident in our lives is connected, maybe with somebody else's life. It's another way of expressing 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's the same thing, which I never really noticed until recently. I thought, oh, 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon is actually superstring theory. Why didn't I notice that? But you read these books on physics, and then you start noticing things, and a light bulb comes on finally, and you think, why did it take me so long? But physics is not one of those disciplines that you will understand overnight, let alone in your entire lifetime. It's always in progress, and that's why I like theoretical physics. It just absolutely astounds me, and it just leaves me in awe every single time. In this story, it just talks about the whole idea of mechanization and that fear, that Orwellian fear that grips all of us. And it takes kind of a Lovecraftian kind of view of it, which I like, and that's where the horror comes in here, and the transcendentalist thought. And yeah, that was part of the the philosophy at the time, and I took a course in transcendentalism and absolutely loved it. It was difficult, but it taught me quite a bit, and it hasn't left me. It leaves its imprint upon you for all time, and you never really overcome it. It just becomes ingrained with your thoughts, your process, and how you perceive. I really enjoyed this particular book. I'm not going to go over the entire plot. It's just, it adds to the Mortal Instruments, and why the characters feel the way they do. It just, their modus operandi is discussed more in this particular book. And you get to learn about why matters are the way they are. And then it makes the other books make so much more sense to me. At least to me it did. All of the mysteries are unraveled. Well, most of the mysteries are. There's still some questions that are left unanswered. And then, of course, in this particular softback, they have Magnus's vow, which I absolutely love, and it discusses his whole thought process and why he has the emotions that he does concerning different characters. I won't go into that right now. And it leads you to believe that Magnus is older than he actually looks, and I'm sure he's been around for millennia, and warlocks are very intriguing characters in this particular series. Warlocks aren't really considered dark like they are in other books. They're more concerned, well, they are considered Lilith's children, which would lead you to believe that they are of her allegiance, but they are actually, well, Magnus is working with shadow hunters, and it makes you glad that he is, because wizards and witches and warlocks, they always have the divide. You've got light magic, and then you have necromancy, and the two are always separate, and there's no real shade in between or a hue that would suggest any deviation of that. It's just clear cut. But in this series, as far as I understand, the warlocks themselves are considered part of the good in helping the shadow hunters and all that. Well, at least that's how I felt when I saw the first movie. His Magnus was helping all of the shadow hunters out, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misconstruing something, but at least in Claire's series, that's how she delineates the different types of creatures. So you've got the warlocks, you've got the werewolves, you've got your vampires, you've got other creatures like fairies, nixies, pixies, and it goes into that whole the lore and myth of what we know as the English countryside. And also, well, this one doesn't go into anything considering Norse mythology or Greek mythology or even Japanese mythology. You get into that in the Mortal Instruments, and that's what makes it that much more convoluted and intriguing, I feel. But this sticks to more the Celtic mythology than anything else, and I've always adored Celtic mythology because it's part of my background, and I know a little bit more about it than, say, the average bear. Plus, I read a lot, and you think, oh, yeah, this is accurate, and she's done her research well, and I'm very happy that she did, because it's kind of challenging to get the actual lore correct without getting your different creatures mixed up, because in Celtic mythology some of them tend to overlap. Um, yeah, it's really quite amusing, I think, and entertaining. I absolutely love the series, and I'm looking forward to reading the next two books in the trilogy. I finished this in no time flat. I picked it up, couldn't put it down. It held my attention. It grasped me from the get-go. That's basically all I have to say about Clockwork Angel and the whole idea of automatons. And the more steampunk version of automatons is really quite clever and creative. Not like it hasn't been done before with Doctor Who, but so I thought, oh yeah, they're going to do one of those stories, but that even had a twist of its own that I didn't see coming, but it reminded me of that very much. And I'm wondering if Claire is a Whovian, so if I ever have a chance to meet her, I'm going to say, hey, do you watch Doctor Who by chance? Were you inspired to make a Clockwork Army based on that? Yeah, one of these days I will definitely do that, but for now I'm gotta have to skadoo, so I shall see you later. Adios.